My fellow Americans, I'm Flynn Cook. This is Metropolis After Hours. I'm masquerading as Steve Rogers, and this is...
I'm Gail Burt. I'm the queen of Metropolis, and we're finally back for a new After Hours. We've been, well, I've been traveling a little bit, so...
Her fault.
Nice. Okay, so I had a great time on my travels, and now I'm back, and so we're here to talk tonight. We want to talk about a couple of different things. First, let's talk about Captain America movie.
Yeah, I'm not just wearing the shield for effect or to hide my gut. Basically, yes. Captain America has been cast. In case you don't know, Chris Evans, former portrayer of the Human Torch, is now the Star-Spangled Avenger. Now, to quote Bill Cosby,
well, he's got great charisma and great stage presence. He looks good.
Absolutely, you know,
and I think he's a great actor.
Like I've said with several actors, and you know, this is absolute truth. You don't judge them until you have a chance to see their to see their performance. I mean, look at Michael Keaton as Batman; he blew everyone away. And Heath Ledger as the Joker; everyone thought he was going to suck, and ended up winning an Oscar. So you know, I'm not saying that he's not going to give a good performance. And at first, I didn't mind the casting, but then I opened the latest Wizard and I saw juxtaposition. Okay, one page was the production art of Cap in mid-fight. You know, it's the production art for the movie. He's like this, stuff's bouncing off the shield. Yeah, looks very, very heroic. And then over on the other page was a small insert picture of Chris Evans with a dumb look on his face. And that's when it fell apart for me.
Well, okay, demonstrate the dumb look. Okay, that's pretty dumb.
Yeah, you know, so it's not like it was a screenshot from him acting in the movie, but it begs the point that they could have cast somebody better. Okay, and now, like I said, he may still turn in a good performance.
Yeah.
But I wanted to address.
It's hard to say just from a single, production still. So.
Well, I wanted to address the Captain America movie, because I had the shield and it made me think of it, but also just because we haven't talked about a comic book movie in a while. Now they have Joe Johnston as the director. He directed The Rocketeer and Jurassic Park 3, so he's got action cred, and especially he's got period superhero film cred with The Rocketeer, which was flawless as a comic book adaptation. So
I agree.
It's in the right hands. There are scripts, there are story elements that I don't care for, but in the end, it's going to be very interesting to see it unfold. And today, Friday, September, what is this?
The 24th.
24th.
Happy birthday, Josh.
Happy birthday, Josh.
My nephew.
Some new pictures surfaced of him on the set with his hair dyed and he's all worked out, and it was very interesting because he's huge now. He's so buff for the part, but the funny thing is his forearms aren't buff enough, so his upper half is all buff and his tiny half, his smaller half isn't.
Tiny toothpick-like forearms.
Yeah, so he looks a little freakish.
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
But that aside, and with the hair, he looks the part, except for that big nose of his. I'm sorry, Chris, you got a big nose.
I like his nose. I think he's very handsome. I think he might be one of the cutest boys in the whole world. He's very handsome. Girls like him. Even girls who don't like boys that much. Well,
that's probably the secret of the casting. That's how they're going to get the girlfriends in the seats. Why did I bring this up? Again, there is no further point to this. I just wanted to talk about the movie in case there are things that you, the viewer, don't know. For example, there are a lot of people that don't know Thor has finished shooting and they're working on post-production. So Thor and Captain America.
Which explains the fact that we've got 11 Thor-based titles out right now in the comic book world.
Yeah, so Thor and Captain America.
Thor does not sell 11 titles worth, Marvel. I just got news for you.
Yeah, Thor and Captain America are going to hit theater screens next year, and it's good that you mentioned the multiple titles thing because that leads us into our next point, which is our main point was going to be about Spider-Man, but we stopped and we started thinking about it.
Well, first let's talk about.
I kind of want to make a small apology to the people that I recommended story to. If you remember in our last episode, I was talking about the new Spider-Man storyline, One Moment in Time, written by Joey Quesada, and I remember I said that it looked like it was going to lead to them, Peter and Mary Jane getting back together. Now, Joey Quesada...
Without a huge spoiler.
Yeah, he is.
Somewhat spoiler alert.
Yeah, he has proved us wrong again. And if you want to avoid spoilers, click off the video, skip ahead. So to try and make the spoilers really fast, basically he ends the story with them deciding not to get together, her leaving, saying, there's somebody else right out there for you, Peter, and he swings off into the sunset saying, it feels like a brand new day.
Yeah, that's the classic, it's not you, it's me dump. You know, and that's kind of sad.
And Peter, poor Peter Parker, makes a deal with the devil. Parker is too dumb to realize it. You know, so I didn't think the Spider-Man comics could reach a new low.
Yeah, I think it's a shame because Peter Parker has been. I mean, it was really quite a groundbreaking thing for him to get married in the first place, and the relationship with Mary Jane has always been really stabilizing on the character, and so I've always really liked that because, you know, the whole allure of Spider-Man is that he's got problems, and he's kind of like the rest of us. He's got great powers and all that, but he's a little neurotic, and Mary Jane really was kind of like his gyroscope, and without her, I don't think he really has a true north, and so I think that's a problem for the character, particularly as thinly as he's spread these days, and in as expensive a comic books as they. I mean, for those of you who don't know, right now the average price of a Marvel superhero comic book is $3.99. Okay, yeah. And that's a pretty high ticket item in my world because a lot of times, you know, Spider-Man is being looked at by parents for their kids. It's usually the first serious superhero title that they start on, you know, after graduating up from things like Marvel Adventures and stuff like that, you know. So it's really hard on me, especially in the middle of a huge recession, the type that we are finally actually feeling. In past recessions, comic book shops have traditionally been considered recession-proof. In past recessions, we haven't really even felt the pain that everybody else was kind of going through. And mainly, I have always thought that was because comics are cheap entertainment, and if you can't afford to spend $7, $8, $11, $14 to take your kids to the movies, you know, I mean, now it costs upwards of $100 to take a family of 4 to the movies. You know,
keep that in mind when you're seeing Captain America next year.
That's right. And so, you know, a comic book obviously is inexpensive by comparison, and I think it lasts a lot longer than the 90-minute to 120-minute movie experience. But
especially
at the
considering
same time,
the lack of content you seem to be getting for comic books these days. Like I was saying in our last episode, Batman Odyssey has so much more content per page in it than your average comic book, making it pretty close to worth the $3.99 value.
Right, exactly. Well, plus that's an event comic. That's Neil Adams working on Batman, which hasn't happened in decades, and so that's an event comic. But when you're talking everyday comic dollars, $3.99 a piece is a lot of money, and I think we're starting to see that a lot of our members are passing on rebooted titles, miniseries, stuff that's
especially miniseries.
Right, stuff that's not integral to the current storyline continuity. They're starting to pass on or boot. They're starting to cancel them.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, getting back to what I was going to say about Spider-Man, you know, especially for the price and the creative direction, Spider-Man hasn't, you know, been really solidly good since before the Clone Saga. It's, you know, kind of a bizarre stereotype that
I like
Clone
the
Saga was so
JMS
awful. See, we have a point of contention between us. I'm not like everybody else. I don't hate JMS's run. I like some of the ideas he introduced in it, but on the whole, he was trying to add in these ideas that, like I said with Grant Morrison on Batman, were too esoteric. He was adding in all this mysticism.
But they were interesting, and it cannot be argued that they were well written. The quality was there. The content was there.
I don't know. Okay? But what I will
whether
admit,
you liked it or not, you have to admit
what I will admit is that it was new, interesting stuff. And he put Peter and MJ back together after Howard Mackey had torn them apart for several years.
Right.
And, you know, going back to what I was saying, you know, Howard Mackey's run on Spider-Man, you know, wasn't great, but it predated all that forced esotericism that JMS started putting in, and they're still continuing to do. What with they've been doing some stuff recently. I don't have any specific examples because I've been kind of just been glancing at it because it's too painful to actually sit down and read an issue of Spider-Man these days. But anyway, I'm kind of losing my point. So moving on to what we were saying about the too many titles per month. DC, what the heck are you doing?
DC's now started to, as I mentioned, 11 Thor titles. How many Spider-Man titles?
There's just one. Just Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
But it comes out every week.
But
Web of Spider-Man. They brought back Web of Spider-Man.
Web of Spider-Man. That too isn't too much for Spider-Man. But for Batman, what, 8?
Yeah, well, let's see. We got Batman and Robin, Detective Comics, Batgirl, Azrael,
Batwoman.
Well, Batwoman hasn't started yet.
It's going to.
But there's going to be Batwoman, then Batman Inc., The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
Batman Confidential,
Gotham,
which isn't technically in continuity.
Gotham
Gotham City Sirens. Batman Streets of Gotham. So that is 10 books, 11 if you count Batman Odyssey. You know, that's ridiculous,
that's
guys.
That's a lot of books for. I mean, what do you think? That people just like reach into their pockets and they just got an unlimited well of money?
Especially with the recession starting to hit comic shops, it's like, what are you doing, DC? You're starting to pull a Marvel.
Yeah, because here's what happens. What we've said before and what I'll reiterate again. If people cannot afford to get them all, they won't get any. So they just drop. They just drop them all. And so, you know, I'm saying that Batman is having a pretty good run with the return of Bruce Wayne and with Grant Morrison. Well, I mean, I know, one of convention for you.
She didn't even see me, and she could tell I made a face.
Because he's going like this. I know it. But yeah, I mean, but with Grant Morrison on the book, a lot of people are really looking forward to it. The problem now is there are too many titles, and now everybody's going to have to start picking and choosing. Yeah, and I think that's hard for them to do, so I think a lot of them are just going to drop it all together.
Yeah, you know, DC is flooding the market, and at the end of the day, you look, as the guy that does DC ordering, you look at the books that have the most consistent ordering numbers from month to month. It's books that only have one title, like Flash, Superman, or Fables, Booster Gold,
Green Lantern.
All that stuff that is so easy to follow.
Right.
DC, you know, you've had Batman and Detective Comics since these comics have pretty much started. Just narrow it back down to that. If the scope of your stories are too big to just fit into 2 monthly titles, maybe it's about time you thought about simplifying the stories.
Smaller stories. I don't know. There are a couple of guys that can handle the big stories. I think Grant Morrison is one of them. I think that Jeff Johns is another one. And those are the guys that are sitting in the big chairs right now at DC. Who do they have at Marvel who compares to either of them, do you think?
I'd say Jeff Loeb. Believe it or not, because I liked the Hulk stuff, the Red Hulk stuff. It was dragged out too long, but I know that was because Marvel wanted to drag it out farther.
Yeah, I agree. Jeff Loeb is a very tight, organized storyteller, so I got to think that he didn't make that decision. So. Yeah,
but Jeff's the only one I could think of. I would have said JMS. Because even though I didn't like his run on Spider-Man, he still knows how to handle big events.
But now he's at DC.
Yeah, he's on party contention with Marvel.
Yeah, so he's on Wonder Woman and Superman now. So.
Okay, well, our cameraman is signaling that we're out of time. So I'm Steve Rogers. This is President Burt. And take it easy, and good night, America.